Once again, thank you very much for coming. I've been told that there are a couple of speeches to be made, which is very nice and kind, and I'm also going to cut the cake. This is, if you haven't seen this cake, it's really lovely. There's a picture of me in Bishop Stark's there. So I'm going to cut this first, and then we're going to have the speeches. But I have to say that it's very tempting with Bishop Stark's being on the cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the knife in the middle, and I'm going to... Oh dear, that... Sorry, I got your chin.
That's okay, your cutting remarks make up for it.
That's all right, thank you. So, thank you all very much. It's been a wonderful 10 years. I can't quite believe that 10 years has gone so quickly.
Oh, we can.
Yeah. But if anyone's got any complaints about me being bishop, then he's the one that made it possible, so take them up with him.
I just wanted to get somebody here who knew what they were doing. Unfortunately, you were the only available.
Yeah. That wasn't how you said something to me about it. Wasn't that I was the best choice, I was the only choice. I'm quite certain what that meant. Anyway, thank you all very much, and with great pleasure, I cut this wonderful cake. Oh, but before I do so, actually, there's something else I need to do. Andy and Sam and the lovely children who've been so good today and have been working so hard, they're the ones who are responsible for all this lovely food and for this lovely cake. And I'm very grateful to them for all that they do to support me in my ministry. There's so many people to say thank you to. And all of you here sort of represent other people who I'm very grateful to. So thank you very much. Anyway, there we are. That's enough from me. Thank you. And Dr. Fidge is our diocesan secretary, and he's prepared a short speech. So if I stand back here and you stand there, thank you.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honour for me to be asked to say a few words this afternoon on such an auspicious occasion. During the week I got an email which said, would you mind saying a few words this afternoon? And I immediately thought of quite a few words, actually. And I thought, well, maybe they would not be all appropriate. So I had to do a little bit of careful thinking, and this is what I came up with. It's a tribute to Damien Mead on the 10th anniversary of his consecration. Damien came into the ACC in January 1999. He soon began to make his mark as he was appointed Diocesan Dean in 2001. Then, following the sudden departure of Father McEwen in 2002, Damien became the Vicar General. So you can see he's advancing fast in the powerful echelons of the upper circles of the diocese. He became Vicar General, and of course, naturally, they moved the diocesan headquarters to Lydd, from where he took over the reins of leadership, which he has held firmly ever since. To me, his leadership is in two levels. Firstly, there's the overall, general and overarching management of the diocese and the oversight of a team of priests and officers who implement the policies and strategies that he has introduced and developed over the years. He's always been foremost in thinking ways of improving the way in which the ACC develops, and is publicised and presented, especially his magnificent ability to maintain a really superb website, his tireless efforts to ensure the newsworthiness of the diocese in our international newspaper called the Trinitarian, because you can't pick up a copy of the Trinitarian without finding 2 or 3 items of the UK news in it. And the hours and hours that he must have put in over the years in producing and editing the Diocesan magazine, and every edition, which you may have seen, is a work of art and dedication. And then secondly, there's his example and leadership as a parish priest. From the early days in Rochester, in a room in a house, then moving into a rented hall, and then making a very beautiful chapel in the offices of Credo Care down in Lydd. He followed that very bravely by what I thought was quite a risky move to hiring the Cemetery Chapel in Canterbury. But that gave him a springboard to think about moving into other premises, and it wasn't long before he moved into a shop premises which had been a former chapel in the centre of Canterbury itself. There for 10 years he worked so hard to make a very beautiful, albeit smallest cathedral in the city. But of course there was no stopping him, and with prayerful determination he continued his search for a better place to present the gospel and to call people to Christ, and here it is. The former Methodist chapel that has been transformed into a place of beauty with all the hallmarks of Damien's passion for having absolutely everything just so. His tireless, unstoppable progress is an example and a challenge to us all, and I think this is leadership at the most practical. But this Prince of the Church is not all holiness and piety.
I was waiting for this.
Under all that lace and embroidery, there lurks a fun-loving person with a wicked sense of humour and a liking and interest for some of the more ordinary aspects of day-to-day living. I would say that food and travel are probably preeminent on his list, but there are also some rather unlikely aspects of his life, of which I will expose 1 or 2 to you today. Very few people know that he always sleeps in his Rupert Bear pyjamas. And the only clue to that is that many of us see him in his Rupert Bear waistcoat and scarf. There's also photographic proof that he has, at least on one occasion, shaved off his beard, leaving only a tiny square moustache, in order to attend a fancy dress party as a very realistic, larger member of that comic duo, Laurel and Hardy. There are no prizes for guessing who was the Stanley to his Ollie. So here we are to celebrate and congratulate Bishop Damien on his 10 years as bishop. We've come to thank him for his leadership of the ACC in this cradle of Anglicanism. We recognise his hard work, his perseverance, his determination, and his fair-minded and the charitable way in which he has solved quite a few tricky problems while he has been leading the diocese. No one could doubt his sincerity, his commitment, and his dedication to the ACC at all levels. And we pray that God will continue to bless his ministry and enable him to continue as Archbishop for many years to come. To everybody, let us raise our glasses, but we don't have them. Right? I reckon 3 cheers would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip hip.
Hooray!
Thank you. I understand that the Archdeacon is also going to say a few words. I hope none of my other secrets are revealed.
All will now be exposed.
But he paid me enough to be quiet about that. No, it's obviously I echo everything that Roy has said. We've been very lucky to have him for all of this time. The bishop, of course, has a special relationship with his priests. In the beginning, there were bishops and there were deacons, but bishops couldn't be everywhere, and so they ordained priests to stand in for them. And therefore, we are the bishop's representatives when we stand at our altars on a Sunday or other holy day. We are celebrating the Mass on behalf of the bishop, and it's a great joy and privilege to do so. During the almost 2 decades that I've known him, I've been very impressed with, right from the start, with his wisdom and his understanding and his compassion and his overall control, if you like, in a way which has been far beyond his years. I mean, you wouldn't think that I'm old enough to be his father, but there we are. Right, which is true. But right from the start, I found him to be a person who was very approachable, a person who always wanted to do the right thing for his Lord, for his church, and for the people that he had committed to his care. Since he became a bishop, he's had more opportunity than ever to be able to exercise that, and he does try to be everywhere. We know that in spite of the many health problems that he's experienced in the last few years, that he's always made time to travel the diocese, and we are very spread out after all. He's made time to be at the special occasions and at the special events which go on in the parishes, and that does mean a great deal. A lot of bishops, of course, who have a far smaller area to cope with, have far bigger numbers of people. So he is able to know the people in a way which bishops of larger dioceses perhaps can't know everybody. But as one of his priests, I would like to say what a privilege and a pleasure it has been to work with him. He's always been very understanding of people's peculiarities, and over the years, of course, there have been a lot of rather unsavoury characters that he's had to deal with who have given him a very hard time. But in spite of all that, he's come through it. He was called by God to be a bishop, and I think the fact that we are here today celebrating that, and all that we know about him, is proof of that. And so I would just like to say thank you for being our bishop, and for being so caring and loving, and we love you for it.
So thank you very much. Thank you. Just easily distracted I am. Thank you very much. That's lovely. Yes. Where was I? Just one thing. Dr. Fidge mentioned the Trinitarian newspaper, our international one that goes all around the world. And it is true that the editor of the Trinitarian is a real lover of all things English. And that's why he puts in an awful lot of news that I send him, and he publishes it. And I was in America last year, and somebody came up to me, and they said, "Oh, Bishop Mead." I said, "Yes." They said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "It's just that the last edition of the Trinitarian, there wasn't a picture of you in it." So I thought something awful had happened. And I said, no. I said, "It's just that they were obviously very, very short of news." And one picture of me tends to take up a double-page spread. So they can fit me in, and I fill a big space. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to be bishop for 10 years. It's been tough at times. It's very difficult. And of course, part of that is because the church has limited resources, and I am non-stipendiary. I don't get paid by the church, as indeed all of our clergy are volunteers. One of the reasons that I have to combine my secular work with church work is in order to pay the mortgage and the bills. But travelling around our diocese all over the United Kingdom, seeing our people, meeting new people, having people join us is a wonderful thing, because there's an awful lot of good people out there who really take seriously their Christian commitment, their responsibilities, their duties, and they have a great love for each other and a great love for me. And that's the thing that I think has made it, apart from obviously, we can't forget the Lord, apart from God, it's the love that people have shown me which has made the 10 years pass very quickly. There have been a few difficult moments, but on the whole, we've come through it well. And both Roy and Father Ray, the Archdeacon, have been such an incredible support to me. I can't begin to say how much both of you mean to me. So thank you very much. Thank all of you. Lovely. So there's cake here now, and there's more drink, and there's more food. So please do continue to help yourself.
Martini.
Thank you.